allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. April 7th. Oh.
Yeah, mics, put your mics on. Hello. It's a whole new procedure we got going on here at Town Hall. Welcome to the work session, Monday, April 7th, 9:30 a.m. Ask the Secretary Treasurer to start with the roll call.
Scott Horwitz.
I'm here.
Ed Warner, here. Chip Marin.
Here.
Joe McLaughlin.
Recording
here.
in progress.
Thank you. Matt Parsons.
Present. We're recording.
We're all here.
All right. Let's get right down to business here. Busy day. You have a discussion on there, Secretary Treasurer Warner.
Yes.
Recording in progress.
Okay, yeah, we got that.
We had asked Cornell to change their seating, basically packet that we received from them to look to do a few more scallops, less oysters, regular oysters, and oysters on shell, which we can transplant into Quantic Bay for one of our projects where we can find out if the oysters survive good there, and also how the oyster on shell. I know Trustee Marin had worked with some of the process with spat on shell, and as we all have, I think it's a good project, and we can see how it works out. And we've asked them also to take some of the hard clams that they had usually give us at the end of the growing season and to overwinter them so that we can see, compare the survival rates of, a 6-month-year-old clam versus a year-plus-old clam, how they survive in the environment. So
we're reducing the amount of clams and bumping up the scallops.
yes,
Yeah.
and reducing the oysters too, and oyster spout and shell.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think it's a good way to, we have it all in our packets to look at, but I think it's a good proposal. So I'd like, everybody's thoughts and then we can contact Cornell and let them know what we need and what we want. All right?
All right.
Fair
That's
enough.
good. Thank you.
Great.
Chip, you have a couple of discussions on here.
All right, I've been in a lot of correspondence between Solitude, the Watermill CAC, Chris Goldberg, concerning the Mill Pond application and project. Now that we don't have as much carp, we're kind of pivoting. And also Jackie at CPS. So it's under the recommendation that if we proceed forward with this, is that the trustees themselves take the cost of the application. And then because it's very difficult to get any of these permit processes through the DEC, we have a choice. We'd like to do trimarine and or alum, depending on what gets accepted. So I would like to recommend that we kind of apply for both permits simultaneously. Solitude recommended that we just apply for trimarine, but Solitude has decided to get a bunch of environmental consultants together from all over the country to approach the DEC on these issues so they can do some projects that actually kind of are progressive for environmental issues in the freshwater bodies.
So they're going to basically do lobbying for this product.
Lobby for this product. It's going to go way above and beyond this cost, but they're just trying to get their foot in the door. So there was a test case of alum done in 2024 on a test basis with the DEC, and there's been no reports back of what the results were yet. And then Chris Goldberg did do the trimarine up west in Stony Brook and had very good results, but it's going to be a long drawn out process, probably to get it accepted to do in Mill Pond, but I think we have to push forward with trying to do it.
Well, I know from past working with the CAC, and when Fred Habermeyer was on the board, we were looking to do alum. We initiated a immunologist that recommended to use the Foslock product, which had been tried in Australia and had pretty good success around the freshwater and marine environments, very similar to what we had here. So we got the application, we got the permit through the DEC to use the FOSLOC. The problem with the FOSLOC, it was supposed to be done in multiple applications. It was done initially with one application, and they didn't calculate the 6-inch and a 4-inch rainfall within a week and the amount of nutrients that it was going to bring into the pond. So it was kind of right from the very beginning a failure because it was, the nutrient load was not calculated properly. And the second application that was supposed to be done in November after the algae starts to die off in there, that was never done. So basically, the project was permitted. It was only partially done, and then the plug was pulled on it by the town, board because they were doing some of the funding. So,
Well, the dosing was way off. So
Yes,
you had the
well,
dosing way off. You had extensive rainfall, and you also had another factor there where the runoff was not mitigated. So you basically took cholesterol medication but ate 4 pounds of bacon a day, and we're wondering why it wasn't working out.
Well,
It's basically what
during the
happened
whole
there.
process,
So-
part and part of the process was the Deerfield Road drainage remediation, which hadn't been done by the highway yet. So that was the big influx of runoff that was going into the pond. So and that was one of the things that DEC had recommended, that the drainage be done first and then the FOSLOC done afterwards, and it was done backwards. So it was doomed to failure.
Right. So you have different.
But we have a good project. We have some professionals that we're working with. Chris Pickrell, we're working with Chris Gobler, we're working with Solitude Lake
Yeah.
Management. We do have the very good drainage
Yep.
kind of executed on Deerfield and such.
Plus, you have the institutional knowledge of where the failures came in on the prior
And
project.
we've
so-
also brought along the farmers, because back in the day they would just put as much fertilizer on the field as they thought they needed, or actually more, but now they actually calculate per bush, per tree. I mean, Mr. Halsey had been involved in the conversation, and I believe a couple of the other farms are now, horse, farms, and they don't have as much runoff coming off down there. So looking from our past mistakes, I think we should build on them. And there's a lot of information in our office about these past mistakes and how they contributed to the failures.
Yeah, I mean, like the alum has been used in other states successfully.
It's just a very tough slog right now with the new wetland management. That's the legislation that's been pushed through with the DEC. So it's just more steps you have to go through. But I think that we do need horsepower upstate and go directly upstate with this proposal and see where we go, because that they regulate the freshwater bodies. They have a pretty good understanding of what can go forward and what can't.
Right. Well, let's keep moving forward in the process. We have some CPF funding for remediation on this. The trustees obviously want to see our water bodies to be, healthy as possible. We don't want public health issues. We also have a very active community organization that is on, lockstep with the trustees. And I think that everybody around the table with our professionals, methodically working our way through this process, I think, we have an excellent chance at success here, because we have learned a lot over the course of time.
I think the biggest thing that should be brought to everybody's attention, the board and the community, is that these permits are not gotten in a year. It might take a few years for them to do. So this is a long, drawn-out process. So I want everybody to,
Very clear on this.
I wanna be very-
I've been very
Well,
clear with everybody too.
Coming from the
Yes.
two senior guys on the board, right?
Yeah.
Yourself and myself, there are projects that, we started 10 years ago, or more than that, right? We're bringing stuff to fruition that's been going on for 20 years. It's just coming to fruition today.
Scott, this was one of my first projects that I had questions about, was with the solar bees down in the pond. And everybody said it was, the solar bees are circulating pumps that they use around, sewage treatment plants and cleaning up the water. And everybody said this is going to be the silver bullet. Well, the first year it worked out pretty well, but the second year, not calculating the lack of precipitation and putting them in the same spot, in the same depth, they actually sat into the muck and became a upweller of nutrients, which that fall contributed to a huge algae outbreak and a die-off, and we had a giant fish kill there. So, you know,
And
I
that's
think-
another excellent point that you bring up, and that is that even the best plans that you have gets a curveball from Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Because you're referencing a drought. In the other instance, we were referencing, like 9 inches of unexpected rainfall, right?
Yes.
And we've been in a serious bad pattern of heavy rains
Yes.
now. So even when you've got the best laid plans, and we've seen this at Mecox, where you run a management plan, Mother Nature's going to throw that curveball at you, and you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yep.
And that's it. So you have something else on here too, by the way.
Yeah, SAG, I just want to update the whole board on we've been wrestling with the contracts for SAG, SAG Pond, for the management of it with Chris Goldber's water testing and then the dredging of it, utilizing CPF funds. I had a good meeting with Tatiana the other day, and we should have a resolution on for the 25th of the town board. And I think I've got it nailed down so that we can get Chris Goldberg paid and draft a brand new contract for 2025 for his services and the H&L services that we're using down in SAG. So I think we have that on the turn and cleaned up and, progress forward with a nice 3-year contract.
Yeah, I mean, we do utilize Chris Goldberg and their findings for some of the opening and closings of the pond and the water quality with algae outbreaks and stuff like that. So having Chris give us the science and give us a good report at the end of the year strengthens our ability to open these ponds, especially that pond, on a need basis. I know we have plover issues down there certain times of the year, but sometimes it just needs to be opened up because of the water quality and the height of it.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
Making progress.
Yes.
Always helps. All right, let's jump into waterfowl hunting location permit applications for determination. I see I've got a no response here. Who's got this?
So I have the files. Shakira's on Zoom if they can let her in.
Coming on now.
Thank you. Hey, Shakira.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
So this one, he got an NOV for failure to call for visual inspection and failure to say that he hunted his spot. He's also had a late renewal in 21 and 22.
And we have no response now.
And no response from him when we sent the NOV certified mail.
Board, what do you think?
Okay.
I think, yeah, that's been the policy. We give him at least one strike, which I think he's gotten, or 2 this time, and no response because, I mean, after 3 years of hunting, he had the blind for 3 years. He hunted it. He should know the routine by now.
Is there a Bay Constable recommendation on this?
Shakira, do you have a Bay Constable recommendation?
They have no recommendation. They're going on whatever the board wants, Rich said.
Okay. Well, I think you're not responding. I don't really think you want this spot, so I think we're done.
Move to revoke it?
Yes.
You concur?
I do concur because he's had a couple chances and he knows the routine.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Fine with me. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is Alexander Fauci, permit number 100.
Yes, he did respond.
Yes, he did respond.
And he also had a failure to schedule an inspection back in 2018, 2019, but he did respond, and his letter says he provided photos saying that he hunted. Sorry, I'm just trying to find his letter. Sending this email with attachments as proof that I used my duck spot on December 15th, 2024. On that same day, I called the office twice, left a message, but I never received a response. Every year I make sure to call in my spot, but I have never gotten a call back. Please let me know if you need any additional information. And then he sent in a bunch of photos proving that he hunted.
Well, I mean, it sounds like he's made an effort to comply with the regulations, but as far as the call-ins, there has to be a better way so that we get notified and we know that they actually called in, not just telling us this, because, you know, this isn't the first time that someone has said that they left a message and never got a call back. And that's what we ask them to do. You know, leave the message, tell them what day you're gonna be hunting, and so that they can be looked at. I mean,
Right.
it sounds like he's taken the time to make the effort to comply to what we need.
Get that off the desk.
I mean, this gets sent out via mail, correct? You know,
Yeah.
this whole protocol gets sent out via mail. So, I mean, they have the paperwork. It's just the fact of actually filling it in
Yeah,
and sending it back in a timely manner,
but
correct?
he did send, you know, pictures and a call. So he did do
He
what
did
we
do
asked
it,
him to
yeah.
do, but it sounds like there was someone dropped the ball along the process here, and this isn't the first time
Yeah,
this has
it's
happened.
they call the Marine Patrol office, so I don't know, maybe we could talk to them and see how we could improve this process.
It's either that or we can designate a number in our office specifically for this. I mean-
is this the, you know, anomaly, or is this the norm? Because most people, I think, are connected pretty good.
Yeah,
now.
but this is a few times this has happened where they've said they called the office or called the number to leave a message and it hasn't followed up.
Well, but you run a situation where on the weekend, if they call our office or a
Yeah.
designated number, nobody's going to pick up. We'll have an answering machine voicemail. How are you going to verify something that's now 48 hours old?
Right.
Yeah, it's too
Well,
late.
I think the office has been telling, and Shakira, maybe you can confirm this, we've been trying to tell people, in addition to calling, maybe shoot an email too. You know, then they have proof that they asked.
Well, it's not, it's notice, it's not proof. If
Yeah.
you're looking for the Marine Patrol to verify that the person is there, that doesn't seem like a sensible solution insofar as if the Marine Patrol person isn't working that day, nobody's gonna go. And anybody, you send an email on Saturday from the comfort of your home, oh, I'm out duck hunting. It's just, it's just
Yeah.
notice, but nothing more.
Right.
But he did follow what we asked him to do. And we do have pictures and
So what's your recommendation on this one?
I recommend that we, allow him to keep it, but I think we should come up with a better process. Because this isn't the first time we've had this.
On the
Let's send an
recreation.
email
So,
with
want the
if
recreation
everybody's got a cell
shellfish
phone that's
on
got a
the
camera,
top.
send the email, attach a photo when it's taken.
Go through the record.
Yeah.
and all.
That would be the better.
Yeah,
way.
so, right, you have that, you have your card from last year.
Shakira, can you just
recreation
mute
card?
one in between? It's the office. They're
Their
must
voices.
be dealing with the public.
All right, so let's do this. Let's go through the list that we have to go through, and then we'll,
Yeah.
at a later date, figure out if there's a better
Yeah.
system.
Yes.
All right, so
Yep.
so on this one here, Alexander Fauci, number 100, we're gonna reinstate, or
Yes.
okay, we go with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
Okay.
Ethan Smith, permit
Ethan
number
Smith.
105.
Now she can unmute and tell us about Ethan Smith if she wants.
There was no response from Ethan Smith.
And he did have an NOV as well last year.
Yes.
So you have an NOV and you have not responded.
So normally we've given him one chance to respond, and he knows, and I called, last year I called all of my hunters in my area and, either left message or had correspondence with them that what to do, so.
People have to be engaged in the process. We can't,
No.
I think that if there's no response and you've already received an NOV in the past, I think it's pretty clear what's gonna happen.
I think that should go away.
Okay. We go with that?
Yeah, effort makes a difference, I think.
It's fine,
Joseph?
it's fine.
All right. And then, Chip, you got Finn Kelly permit?
Kelly permit 279.
Shakira, do you have the response from Finn Kelly?
Yes, so he attached, please find a picture spread on timestamps for December 1st of 2024. This photo was taken at my Sag Pond blind. As you can see, I had not used very much grass to camouflage my blind this year and instead opt to falling bush. I used a wire to tie the bush. So as the season progresses, the branches became less green and full. They slip or break out of the wire with high winds, so I can understand why someone would think that it wasn't properly camouflaged. Next year, I will do a bottom layer of grass before adding the bush to prevent this in the future. Thank you for your understanding, and please don't hesitate to call me with any questions.
That sounds reasonable.
He did give us 50 hunted, so.
So I would say.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
If they're reaching out and they're trying to work with us, I think that makes a big
We'll
difference.
go case by case. Yeah. Stephen Bentz, in your area, number 22, no response.
So his NOV was for no blind present for the season, several attempts, no blind. Called to report, hunted on 119, inspected before, after, no floating blind is what it says.
So.
He did not respond. But then this.
So they couldn't corroborate.
Yeah. Whether
Yeah, and I don't, it doesn't look like he has any other NOVs in the past, but I don't know what you guys want to do.
Shakira's shaking her head no.
So what was the 119? He went hunting and called in?
Called to report, hunted on 119, inspected before, after, no floating blind. I'm not really sure
So he
what
did get inspected?
that means, but the deadline to have it inspected is by 12/31 according to the code.
Right.
He's got no pictures
So it
of
looks
him
like he
using
did it
like a duck boat or
late.
anything like
What's
that.
the
Yeah, does he have a duck boat or just
Well,
a blind?
Well, what kind of permit
yeah.
do we have here? Is it a duck boat or is it a blind? What is it?
Floating duck blind.
Floating duck blind. So there should be a
Floating
floating duck
yeah.
blind there. If we give you a permit for a floating duck blind, that's what you should have, right?
Yeah, so it looks like he called to get the inspection done on 119. The Bay Constables went out and it still wasn't.
It wasn't there. Okay, so.
Yeah.
So it was late, and then when we sent the certified letter, he didn't respond to that
Okay.
in March.
So the Bay Constables did not see a floating duck blind.
No.
And there's supposed to be a floating duck blind. That's what the permit is for.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, and then now there's no response.
Correct.
All right. So, what do you think, Joseph?
And so if he hasn't responded, then revoke it then.
Did the Bay Constables have an opinion?
They said they went there and they couldn't find a duck blind. Is that my understanding that?
Yes.
But either way, he hasn't had any correspondence of whether.
Yeah.
That's not
I don't
great.
know. Do you want to hold this one and have a conversation with
I give him a
Richie?
call. Yeah, or talk to
Yeah,
Richie,
I mean,
sure.
find out, get to the bottom of it.
I mean, what's the consistency in policy with that? If there's no response and.
He did
went out-
respond a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, he did a little bit of effort. I mean, he did reach out.
But,
20 Shinnecock.
okay, that's an address.
I'm on the agenda, I'm sorry.
I mean, he put, I mean, the most minimal of minimal efforts in, but
I know.
he put something in.
I mean, you want to give him 2 weeks, or you want to be consistent there?
I'd like to hold it a little bit, get a little more information.
Put it on hold and chase
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah.
If you don't get anywhere by the next meeting, then
Yeah,
we'll make a decision.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to.
You also have to be careful, with consistency in the policy. So just keep that in mind.
But he did respond.
All right, let's go over to, so that concludes waterfowl discussion.
Yep.
Right. Let's jump into general permit applications for determination.
Thanks, Shakira.
Thank you, Shakira.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Two. Lori Harrison, 20 Tarpon Road, East Quogue, DKR Shores.
I want to just go to the next one. Maybe she'll show up.
Yeah, okay.
We say in court, second call.
Yeah,
Second,
55 Ramona Drive,
TK Shores.
KR, so that's not going to work. So now we've got 20 Shinnecock. Very excited. How are you today? You could sit there, sign in, state your name for the record officially. Generally, we don't go call that from the seats, but
Sorry.
sign it in.
How you doing? My name is Ben Terzulli. I'm with C-Tech LLC.
All right, let's take a look what you got going on here.
This is a simple in-place bulkhead reconstruction with a small platform, ramp, and float.
Not so simple.
I got DEC approval without the American beach grass buffer and with a larger float, but we did reduce the float and agree to the buffer at the board's request.
All right.
What's the size of the float now?
5 by 20.
Right, so you're looking to come up by 18, and if you
I think we reduced it to 12.
yeah,
Request as well.
you reduced it to 12. Did you reduce it to 12? That's not what I see.
Oh.
I see 18 on there.
Yeah.
So I think
18.
you have to amend your cover sheet.
Well, will you approve 18? I mean, he could definitely use the height, and the DEC did approve the 18.
Well, they approve up to 18. They don't approve 18. Let's not. This ain't our first rodeo here, buddy.
I'm aware.
All right. They approve up to 18, and then we look at the local conditions so that we can set it so that we're not creating a problem. Because what is what are we talking about here in terms of so 25. So you think that you're going to be able to get all your grades set with just the reclamation, reclamation style dredging utilizing the 25 cubic yards? Oh, an additional 25, so 50 cubic yards total, you think?
Yeah, if he's got to leave the bulkhead a little high, he's not going to raise the whole backyard, but.
Yeah, but so you don't, like you see the neighbor next door looks like he's pretty high, so I don't know if you see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could see going up a bit because it would make sense. But here's where, it's not as high off on that other side, right? So you don't have the same amount, which is going to create, like you're going to want to get the grade really proper for this person's backyard so that there's not the creation of, an issue while you're trying to fix an issue, So I think that the 12, if you go up, think where 18 is going to put you on that other side. It's going to be,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I think that when
We're not going to bring the grade up that high.
yeah, I get that. But then what happens is the way the whole thing works out, it's not going to tailor. So I think that if you're dealing with the 12, you're still coming up quite substantially on the other, and then you're going to be still over the top of this thing here. And with the level of, the amount of cubic yardage that you have, I think, in terms of the fill coming in between the 25 and the 25 on the reclamation dredging side, it may work out a little better for you than having this big, you know what I mean? Because of the way it is.
I know what you mean. I just got a homeowner that wants to start this job tomorrow, and he's gonna string my neck if I got to go back to you guys.
No, we don't. Well,
I can agree to you now to only bring it up 12 inches. I can get you a rise to the plans today showing it's only up 12 inches. But
board thoughts? Yeah, right. Yeah, you always have to get the stamp plans in here.
I do have stamp plans. I thought I submitted them.
Do we have them,
These
James?
might be revised, but my original
Yeah,
plans were stamped. I'll get these restamped.
Yeah, because what will happen is if the board agrees, with the buffer and, with the height and all that,
Yes.
it's going to have to go to the next step, which is going to be, obviously looking at the stamp plans, making sure it matches to the, what we agree upon.
So we need stamp plans for the 12 inches.
Okay, I can get you those today.
In the cover sheet with 12 inches.
In the cover sheet, revised cover sheet, yeah.
10-foot wide vegetated non-disturbance buffer, so you're going to indicate that on there, right?
For resolution though,
That's all.
he's not gonna get the permit for it.
For stamp plans.
Right.
The buffer language is on the cover sheet?
Yes, sir.
I just see vegetated non-disturbance, so we're going to vegetate it with beach grass, or what are we doing?
The plans say American beach grass at 12 inches on center.
Yeah, I would amend this too. What do you think, James?
18 by,
On the cover sheet?
Yeah.
specify the.
Yeah, put that on the cover sheet, that way it's clear. This way it'll translate on your permit, clear, okay? And I think that'll work out as being a good project and not creating an issue off on that other side. Other than that, I think you're good. What do you think? Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I'm fine. I'm good. You good? Eddie, okay. All right, so make your revisions, get them over, okay? And then you can get your client moving. All right. I don't see DKR. No one's here for DKR. All right. Take it easy out there.
Oh, bounce it down. We'll just wait till the end.
Adam Steinberg, 88B, Old North Highway.
East End Land Planning.
Katie Osiki from East End Land Planning. I think this was in front of you about a month ago, and Paul Delandria was here as well as the contractor. There was 3 things you guys wanted.
Yes.
One of them was the updated survey showing just an updated note.
Yep.
The second one was a dimension on the Paul's plans, and the
Yep.
third was the non-treated.
Yep. I do notice that there's a beach conservation buffer here. Do you have that document or language of it?
I do. I don't have it with me today, but I can certainly get that to you.
Can you, provide that, because I'd like our attorney to look and see what restraints or constrictions or whatever it has in it, so we can look at that and incorporate it in the application, okay? But all the other stuff is, other than that, that should be the final step as far as what we need. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Send it to James, they'll forward it to me.
Will do.
Yep.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Is that all you wanted? You want to answer, or are we holding until we get that?
I'm gonna hold until we get it, so I have Joe look at it, because I don't know what's in that, language is in it. And then we can, once we get that, review it, and then we can put it back on the agenda.
Okay. The stairs was there prior to that buffer
Yeah.
going in place.
I'm just curious to see what it is and what language it has in it.
Thank you. All right, so now you got 12 Barrel Place Partners LLC.
Yep.
Shoreline bulkheading.
Morning. Morning.
Okay.
This is applicants proposing installation of a 4x10 ramp to a 4x100-foot fixed pier open grate decking with 4 mooring pilings. I know there's questions about eelgrass being in the area. I know historically there's been some eelgrass, there is eelgrass currently in this area. And I believe that was one of the issues with the dock that's just west of it. I believe it's like 3 properties west of it. That's why we held it to a shorter length.
Okay.
Because to keep it inshore of the eelgrass, and that way when they moor the boat and they turn around, it won't be right in the eelgrass. Where you're proposing the dock is going to be right on basically the northerly limits of the eelgrass that's currently there.
Okay, so looking at the eelgrass bed that we conducted the SAV maps for you.
Yeah.
I don't see it being at the end on where they're going to be docking their boat. There's quite a distance.
Yeah, but you don't, I mean, it's just on we've been holding these docks shorter, that other one shorter in the area because there was grass around it when we did the review of it. I mean, I'm not questioning what, as it currently right now, because
Right.
So, and I know historically, the board has always kept the docks inshore of the grass so that the boats could be moored there, turn around and not turn around right in the middle of the eelgrass bed.
No, I understand what you're saying, but looking at the map and what we had conducted by the environmental consultant, it seems to be enough room to place it there and to turn around.
All right, and you.
That's just my,
Yeah.
by looking at it. But
Yeah.
I completely understand what you're saying about protecting that, which is why we had this completed.
Yes, and I mean, actually, you get appreciable depth at 100 feet. So, if that's correct, that the eelgrass is offshore of it, then that would be what we would have had accomplished in doing so. I mean, it's if the rest of the board wants to look at it and have on the depths and everything.
James, could you just put the? I don't have that. You don't have it satellite? No?
I mean, you're familiar with that area, Chip, too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just wanted to zoom out to see exactly where I was.
It's 5 properties east of the Green Lawns.
Wow.
The Green Lawns has the,
So
that's,
when I first went down there, like I know the one that you're talking about. Which
Yeah.
is, but she had just told me that there was more piers that were just installed. I'm not
to the
aware.
to the west.
To the west.
Yes.
Okay.
And some of them were
I haven't
getting
had a
very
chance to go
close to the
down there.
eelgrass beds. That's
Okay.
why I had, because I actually took a boat out there last summer and
Yeah.
went from dock to dock to dock.
Just to
Just to
see what was going on.
Yeah. And sometimes when you establish these docks and put the piers, it might sound silly, it changes the bottom
Migration.
structure, and then the grasses will actually appear because it slows down the sand shifting.
I mean, as long as we're kind of like in the same realm of prior docs accepted.
There are 3 that are between South Beach Road and Atterbury's that we just permitted in the last 4 years.
And we're within a relative like same pier line.
Yes, it's a 100-foot pier line, and that was consistent.
And this is consistent with that. Then,
Yeah,
then
it is. And
then I'm okay with it.
And it does have a little bit more water depth than I originally realized. So, I mean, it acquires almost 2.5 feet of water at the end of the dock. So that's what we would ask for.
And what's the soundings on the depth all the way out?
That's on the plan.
It's pretty much the same until you get past the eelgrass.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to navigate over the eelgrass beds with a small boat, not a large boat.
They have a small boat.
That's what you
Good.
Yeah, I mean, they have proven that the eelgrass beds are offshore, and the structure's not going to be in the middle of them, so it would be consistent to what we have approved in the past.
It's okay.
All right, and one other thing is the ramp that's going to be put there. There needs to be a separation between any structures. I don't know if there's any. I think there's a bank there, right? There's no bulkhead there at this property.
There's no bulkhead.
Yeah,
There's
the properties to the west do have bulkheads. So
there's no bulkhead. There's just the stairway that comes down,
Yeah,
and
it's-
there's like rocks or some sort of.
to the west of it, yeah. You just have to make sure there's like 10 or 12 feet between it.
Yes, we staked it out for you, so we would.
So we can get machinery up and down the beach.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Thank you, Trustee Warner. Thank you, trustees. Have a great day.
Okay, so we can advance. Do we have stamp plans?
Just check.
I believe you do.
I think you do.
If not, I have a set right here for you.
All right, perfect.
I'm prepared this time.
You usually give them to Jess, she'll stamp them in.
There's
I'll take
one.
them.
No, we
No,
don't.
I'll take them.
Okay. How many do you need?
Just one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
You too. You too, thank you.
Okay.
12 Bayview Drive. Bernie Spellman. Go ahead, Joe. Joe Lombardo.
What are we doing?
Isn't this one gonna go out for
Public hearing?
public hearing?
Yeah.
Put it on hold.
No, we don't wanna put it on hold again. We wanna put this on for public hearing.
Yeah, you wouldn't notice it for
We
public
wanna
hearing.
notice a public
No,
hearing.
we can't do that here, though.
No,
No.
that's gonna have to be by resolution.
That's gonna be by resolution.
Yes, yeah, we don't do that here.
Right, yeah. But I can tell you guys the dates for the public hearing if you'd like. So the next meeting is April 21st. We can notice the public hearing for this. And then we would skip a meeting to allow time for the certified mailings to go out, and then we could schedule the public hearing for May 19th. Does that sound good to the board?
May 19th works.
May.
Okay,
Sounds good.
all right.
All right.
Charlotte, will you let the agent know? Thank you.
So it's going nowhere here.
658 Flying Point.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, how you doing? Good.
Jessica, do you stamp your stamps?
So, yeah, I can stamp them. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, it'll be just a minute. You need these ones to pass out to the board?
I just have
Right here?
2 sets for them to share.
Okay. Pass down, please.
Just staple it on there.
Alrighty. Okay. Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning.
David Gilmartin, Greenberg, Trorick. I represented 658 in their application to the Conservation Board and their zoning board applications.
So,
Speak to you about that.
yeah, I was last here in mid-December to discuss this application for a proposed fixed L-shaped dock on the west side of the property, based upon Conservation Board approval of an allowable pathway through a non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer that's been covenanted for the property as part of a larger redevelopment approval. So we're showing it at 50 feet from the mean high water mark with an L shape of 18 feet, 6 by 18, going northward from the end of the dock. So it's actually 44 feet with the 6-foot L. Since we were last here, we got the approvals from all the other agencies as drawn. I submitted copies of those a couple of weeks ago, showing that the DEC, the Army Corps, and the Department of State all approved this plan as drawn. So I know when I was last here, there was concern about the length of the dock with regard to the water depth that we're showing, which we believe is at an abnormally high bay, thank you, for mecox. So I wanted to show you the other docks because that was a part of the discussion. that this would be longer than the majority of them, but I kind of feel like it's in keeping with what's been approved around this portion of the creek. So I'm giving you an overall view on 2 pages. And I pulled only one permit, and it was for the one further on the west. And that was at 42 feet approved, and I think we're showing it at 38 in our very approximated measurement on the GIS. That was for 550 Flying Point, because we're taking an approximate distance from the shoreline, not necessarily the overall dock in these cases. And I also did this lovely little illustration to show you the impact that this would have upon the location, that it's really not impactful at all in comparison to anything else. This is kind of tucked away in the corner here. That other dock that comes right off of Flying Point Road is pretty far away. I mean, that's far.
Yeah.
So, so we wanted to just open up discussion again with the board, having all of this information. And I have David here because he can give some insight about the Conservation Board.
Are we Blue Book compliant on this, James?
I mean, it's 2.5 feet is your max.
Yeah, the issue was last time it would be Blue Book compliant if it was 25 foot shorter. It would still be Blue Book compliant. So, and
So
the
what do you
relative
guys-
depth to getting in and out of the creek, whether the bay is low or high, they're not going to get out of the creek if the bay is low anyway. This is a traditional area for seining.
We also discussed the potential alternative location in between the 2 peninsulas of the property here. We believe there's not enough water for that without it being longer than 50 feet. There used to be a mooring by the prior owner in the middle here. I don't know exactly where that mooring was placed. I didn't have that information, but David can attest to this. We at one point had 2 access points allowed by the Conservation Board, and that was changed when they came back to change the original approval that I had done. The person that took over that now I'm working with changed the project and went back to the Conservation Board, and they eliminated that second access point. So
I mean, that's unfortunate because that would be a more ideal location to put the dock. I mean, as far as accessibility to the bay.
Right,
I mean, the Conservation Board wasn't accepting of a pathway going from the property.
it was pretty hotly contested, and to be honest, and I'll say it publicly, I think we were treated unfairly. We took this house that was in a flood zone and took it out of a flood zone. But the Conservation Board they're really transactional. So if you ask for something, they think they get something back. And the something back was, closing or mostly closing up that area in front. And it was a pretty attractive area. There's a little beach there. And I don't know if you've dealt with them, but they're a challenge. And I thought it was unfair, but my client didn't have the time or inclination to have somebody in Riverhead make a decision, so it was accepted. But
We try to be fair and common sense.
Yeah, but from consideration as a boater's and a navigational standpoint, it would be better to have it closer to the main body of Mecox Bay than further away. Because, if you have a boat and the bay's low, you're not going to get around that point, and it does shallow between the northern part of the point to the other body of land on the north there. So in my mind, it would make the most sense to put it between the 2, closer to the Mecox Bay. And historically, there was a channel dredged by Mr. Burnett, right in the proximity. So there was some, deeper water that could be acquired to get out to Mecox.
But I mean, they actually have their property actually has access to Mecox Bay proper. according to the overheads. I mean, if they wanted to actually utilize if they actually wanted to utilize the dock on a consistent basis,
Yeah.
that would be an ideal location. It would be in Mecox Bay proper, so that way they could use it all summer long. But if we drop that bay out, regardless of how long we make that dock go into Burnett's Creek, they're not getting in and out anyway.
Yeah, because if you look to where the eastern part or the right-hand part as we're looking at it, there was a channel that was dug there. You could see where the indentation is. And to the north of that, that was all meadow and it was closed off. So the remnants of the old meadow with some of the rocks and some, stumps and stuff is still there. And on a low bay, there's virtually no water there. I mean,
that's the entrance right now, that northern spit right there.
Yeah.
And when the bay is down, you could make the dock 100 feet in Burnett's Creek and you're not getting in and out.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I've got when I used to perch up that way, I had a scow and know how to navigate those waters, and I could barely get in and out. So, I mean, for your client's purposes, as far as accessibility to the bay, you'd want the dock on Mecox proper.
Yeah, that would allow you to come and go.
If they want it really for boat purposes, if their pure intention is to utilize it for boat purposes and not go out and stand on the dock, and look at the creek,
or deal with getting stuck.
So I think part of the issue with that is not only the need for an excessively long pathway through this covenanted buffer that I can't see the Conservation Board being very happy about, but also it's the proximity to the developments. I mean, you want a dock that's not 7 miles away from your house. You want it to be tucked in close to your residence.
But
so
don't you want more of a functional dock? I mean, you're asking us to approve something that's closer to the residence, but on a low bay, it's not going to be a functional dock.
and it could be just as functional whether it's 20 foot or 50 foot.
Well, then I would point to all these properties that all have docks, then why are they allowed to have docks?
Well, they're allowed to have
You know what I
docks.
mean?
Their property doesn't
make any
have the
sense to me.
ability to wharf out in another area of their property where there's easier navigation to the bay.
Right,
Do
no,
you have to keep boats on those docks though, or is that just for,
No.
canoe and kayak?
No, there might be one boat in the whole
Boston,
creek.
there's one Boston.
Well,
railroad.
that's their business. I mean, if you're gonna get stuck, or you're gonna have a flat bottom, or you're gonna have a rowing skip, whatever it is, that's on you.
But
you
I
know?
don't think they need a 50-foot dock in order for that. I mean, Blue Book compliance would put them at a 25-foot dock would put them right in Blue Book compliance.
And if you were wholesaling in there, you could work
You
around
can
a
work
25.
around that. You can't work around a 50-foot dock.
Yeah, it's completely in the way.
Zoom in on that, James. That's possible. There you go.
Are you really going that close to shore?
But are you saying that?
I don't.
When you're fishing, yeah, you anchor
You
the net on.
utilize the
So
shore.
you're saying these
Yeah.
measurements you believe were taken out an extremely high bay?
Yes. So these are not accurate. So the question is, do we get new soundings?
Well, I mean, I can
show?
tell you
If you
right
feel
there,
they're
there's
not-
a hole right there. I mean, that's the reason that was a seine site. That's what he's saying, is where it's a deep hole, and back in the day, there was a bucket crane that made that piece of property.
Get updated.
So, I mean,
Get
you
updated.
could update the soundings, but you have, at 25 foot, you have 3.5 foot of water. Or 3.1 foot of water.
Yeah, that's
3.6, yeah.
that's more than you need for a
More
floating.
than you-
Yeah,
Well, it's not a float. It's all fixed.
no, I'm said, but that would.
The float on the end is going to be fixed or floating.
It's fixed. In keeping with the large majority of what's around.
Is there a reason you don't want a floating dock in there at the end as your T, so that they could get on and off the boat when the bay is low?
I don't know that there's a specific reason. I think it's just so that there's no issue with when the water is low, that it's fixed.
I mean, every other dock in there has got a floater on the end, so that when the bay goes down, they can still get on their boat.
I don't agree with that. I think that some of these photos show you, like this one at 550 is a T. That's not a float. That's fixed. There's a couple
Those
that
are in the
look
proper
fixed.
bed.
No, they're
You
not.
talking in the creek?
Yeah, I'm talking in the creek.
That's a floater. That's a floater. That's probably a T. I think I'm staying around that one.
There's a few
Floater on the end.
Jet ski
float. That might be. That's a float.
A ramp.
Yeah, that's a ramp. That's a float. That's a huge float.
David, did the convoy
Chip,
have those
correct me
soundings?
if I'm wrong, but
when you made
that
the
dock
application?
actually goes right through the natural channel that's there, and it would inhibit navigation in and out of that.
That is a
So
deep.
that's-
That's what
that's-
we utilize to get in and out of the creek. You can't go to the north there. They can't. So anybody else going in and out of the creek. Plus, if you had a floater on it and it was seasonal, the guys could fish around a 20-foot standing pier. You can't fish around a 50-foot standing pier.
You still feel these depth measurements are inaccurate?
Well, we think they're abnormally high for a standard bay, let's call it.
Mid-bays. Trustee Havemeyer would call.
So
There's
so
a
it's
low bay and a
indicated, it's
mid-bay and a
indicated
high
high
bay.
bay, David, but it's indicated as high bay on your,
Those are mid-bay soundings.
Yeah, you would know the depth of water
Those
better
are
than
mid-bay
that.
soundings.
Well, I don't really know what to say.
Let's take back these comments to property owner. We'll come back.
And verify when the soundings were done.
yeah, because I'm looking at this, I'm studying this now and I'm trying to
I have that information.
ascertain.
September 8th, 2020.
Yeah.
It's mean high water. According to their.
The soundings.
I mean, I don't want to make decisions off of inaccurate information if that's what you're saying.
October 2nd, 2024.
Is there another?
October 2nd, 2024, they were made. Do you have any MECOX data here present or no? No. We can look and
Then this isn't on the plans you submitted though, because the plans show it as 2020.
The soundings?
Yeah. Well, it shows mean high water. I guess that's just mean high water.
might be
Yeah.
from the survey.
Right. Okay. These are the soundings from
Those are the soundings. We're referencing a
2024.
2024 bathymetric map of Fox.
So there's no problem getting a dock. It's just a matter of situating this dock properly and having the proper measurements so that we do the right thing here.
And I'd really like go to your clients and be like, do you want to be able to get on and off a boat that you're prospectively putting in there? Do you want to recommend a floater? You know, like
if you have depth of water.
If you have depth of water that fluctuates that much with 4 foot, you know.
All right, I think we understand where you guys are coming from. We'll go talk to them.
I can meet out at the site too.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Heron Trust, 442 Joe's Lane.
Good morning. Morning.
We discussed this at the last meeting, and I did a FOIL request. We found the permit for a pre-existing structure at the site from a Vita Pernick in 1977. That was the question the board
The
had.
foil that we asked you to
Yes.
foil for, yeah.
Yes, correct. The current structure, I believe, conforms with the regulations.
The safe, now that we went 4 foot wide, so, we just have to, Joe, does that, I mean, did that all get factored in now that this is a foot wider, in the application? As far as the
your
square
regulations
footage?
show 4 foot wide, like.
Yeah, so, but
that's
the old
standard.
one was 3 foot, but, I mean, because I know, like, there's a different cost basis whether you're replacing or a new construction. So, how does that work?
Well, it would have to comply with the current blue book, and if it does, then it's not an issue.
Not an issue, all right.
Yeah, I think the only question was if it had an older permit for it, and they do, so.
Yeah. So then, as far as I see it, it's okay, I'm okay with it.
Yep, okay. We answered the question.
So we have stamp
Yeah,
plans?
stamp plans, yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
That was Heather Norton. Daisy McFadden. Group from Cole Environmental. See that? Everybody's got to sign in, state their names for the record.
Kate Rummel, Cole Environmental. Hi, Rebbe McFadden.
I am John Bennett.
That's fine.
Good morning there, Mr. Bennett.
Morning. Good morning, John. Good morning. Hey, Joe. How you been?
Please. How you doing today? I haven't seen you in a little while.
That's good. Just trying to say something amusing.
You're amused.
Oh, you're not amused. Oh, entertained. That's what it says, right? You're not entertained.
So the last time we were here, we were proposing it off of where, like further towards the, yes, technically the west. So we moved it to the other side of the property and 10 feet off, and it's just a fixed pier. We do have proposed handrails on both sides, and as the DEC does allow, we have it as a 5-foot width. So, which is a little larger than the standard, but we're just basically here to get some comments.
Daisy's daughter, Remy, is here, and who uses the property extensively, has mobility issues. So thus we have tried to give a little bit of comfort for her on that. Thus the width.
Yeah, and the railing on both
On the
sides.
railing, I'm sorry.
As I recall, this is a rather good change, so thank you for that, John. I know that was compared to what it was originally. It's quite the thing.
Yeah, it was shorter, much shorter, and it was going to impact on some of the grasses there. So thus the shift and the extension to get out past what you can see on an aerial is a fairly healthy.
And I do recall visiting the site with you, so I do recall it was.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it, Joe.
So, board, Scott, what do you think?
In a few words.
Ed, I know you came down to it, so.
No, I'm familiar with the project here.
No float, obviously, no.
Yeah. I know we only have a 4-foot wide catwalk policy. And we have allowed some latitude as far as handicap. It would go with the property owners specifically. And when it was sold, the next owners would have to come into compliance.
Understood.
I mean, there were several occasions that I
That's-
remember
that's
permitting
occurred.
something
Understood.
correct to that.
The DEC does allow, like, when there's a need up to 5 feet.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
understood. We understand.
Yeah,
that.
so I mean, I would say our board would be acceptable to the width, because I know the light penetrating decking comes in different widths. I think it's up to 6 feet.
Mhm.
So that would, you'd be able to acquire some, light penetrating, and it would go with, you as the owner currently. The next owner they would have to come into compliance with our regulations as they are.
The only thing that I would like to, as a caveat, and I'm not trying to do estate planning here, but the expected person to own this next is
Well, that
the daughter. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Because that may be a transfer as a
that's
result of-
helpful information.
Yeah.
So we can
right.
put that in.
That's helpful, relevant, because we like to find
Things
solutions.
can change, circumstances can change, and as long as there's going to be
Could
an
be.
acknowledgement that if it goes out of the family.
That's fine.
Yeah, you can
Perfect.
craft that into the,
Yeah.
Putting it into an LLC for trust purposes,
Perfect.
we would still view that as okay.
that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
You could craft that into special terms and conditions, right? That's common sense,
It has been done, so.
right? So,
Yeah, I just didn't want.
No, right.
No,
that
it-
would be a transfer.
Yeah.
right, no,
Yeah.
listen,
Legally, that would-
be very, very healthy for her age in particular. So I don't want to.
no, absolutely, no, stick around for a while, because we have enough paperwork to do here.
Legally, it would be a transfer, but if it's already in the trust, the transfer is already.
Listen, I
already
don't,
transferred,
right,
so it
let's-
doesn't,
let's-
it's a viewpoint.
Let legalese do legalese, right? So let's stay in the common sense solutions of what makes sense.
You're in good hands with Mr.
This,
Benson.
this is a wheel we already have in stock, we don't need to reinvent.
Yep.
Do we-
covenant or
Do we have we made a consensus about the obscurity of the property lines? Did we already discuss that?
Yeah, I was
We're over extensions.
What?
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, we have the convergence because it's an odd shaped piece of property where the 10-foot setback is gonna be an issue. So have we come up with a solution, a discussion?
Where else would we put it?
Well, I'm assuming that the consultants figured that equation out.
Well, it's just that one property line that does, I mean, like for the most part, the property lines are parallel.
It's square, yeah.
Can we
It's
zoom
just
in
the
here and
end.
see what we're talking about,
I'm
James?
just saying
We're getting in the weeds here?
as far as consistency,
There's a
because
little
of an
more.
odd shape of the piece of property, it's gonna skew our 10-foot setback.
Well, that would have been an
Yes,
issue
it
if it
does.
was in the older location, I would think. Where on that short part of the,
Well, I mean,
How far are we off the lines?
so this is the
That's
issue.
the
This
issue,
this
the angle.
Yep.
That's the,
That it juts
that's
out.
what I'm getting at,
Well,
and I
is this-
understand what we're doing.
the Billy's here, he represents the,
Yes, he does.
the owner to the, I don't know, Billy, I don't want to put you on the spot.
You shouldn't talk from there, though, Billy. You shouldn't talk from there.
I mean, really, it's,
You can just say you don't want to say anything.
You can plead the fifth.
It's got to do with pie. It's got nothing to do with pie.
It has to do with
No
pie.
pie.
No pie on
No
this,
pie.
bring your own pie for this.
I'll probably have to withdraw because Aram's more on this than I am, so I don't know enough.
You gonna withdraw?
Okay.
All right, let him withdraw.
I mean, it is
Let's
as
let him
far,
withdraw.
it is as far to the north as possible, allowing the other,
Yeah, I know
yeah.
it's just the weird angle of that one piece that's screwing up the 10-foot setback that we have stood by in the, but.
I just don't know where else to go with it.
The only
Yeah,
thing
I
that you
know.
could do
Right,
to
well,
eliminate
yeah.
that is there any objection from this neighbor?
I think that neighbor's coming in with their own
Yes.
program,
They don't-
so
they don't
they're gonna
complain.
face a similar challenge. I'm sorry.
So do we
We
seek,
tried to get it away, as far away from that neighbor.
do we seek a
as
global,
possible.
do we seek a global,
64 feet roughly from the bulkhead is out here.
And they're gonna wanna put a dock in too, so is this, yeah, this could be interesting.
do we seek a global solution here? If that's the case?
I just don't know where else to put it, to be honest with you.
No, you've chosen the best spot because it's far enough away from the other dock. If
Yeah.
the other.
It's not a hardship that was created by the property owner, so.
No, it's a
Yeah.
inherent.
How far off is it, James? It's like,
10 feet you're talking.
Well, the 10 foot on the straight part,
Oh,
but,
it's-
but the part that's at an angle intersects the dock a third of the
Yes,
way
we
out.
are extending
Yeah.
past that.
And there, it looks like it's slanted a little bit too.
I
so
think
if
that,
extended
can you
this out-
craft some language in here as well? Based on the
Well, I mean, again, it's
Hardship.
not a hardship that was created by the property owner. And if they've taken all the steps they can, but still can't comply,
Right.
then, you know, relief, to deny relief would not be the way to go on something like this. We would just have to,
I mean, is this,
on the permit language itself, acknowledge the existence for the future. And
The project it's within compliance at the start, it's just where it finishes where you have the issue, so. So I think,
And if you shorten it to the point where it doesn't converge over the property line, the dock goes to zero.
I think that you need to just craft some language in this permit.
Again, it's going on our property, so when when that neighbor comes in, they're going to be needing some sort of relief as well. We're gonna have to work,
A unique
everybody's gonna have to
situation.
work together, so. John, you may wanna get in touch with Aram and see if something can be crafted between the parties.
Yeah, but I don't think that the application as it stands, given all the circumstances, that's exactly where it should go. I've got we're not gonna have a motorized vehicle there. Anything else is essentially gonna defeat the purpose of getting the length, because you're gonna have the kayak, whatever it is, at certain times sitting on the bottom.
I'm agreeing with you, but
John, I'm
again,
good
the
with
neighbor
this.
is going to need some sort of similar relief that your clients would
But
have
we're
to
not gonna,
basically consent to.
we're not gonna object to the neighbor. The neighbor has to do some retrofitting. We're not gonna object to them having it done.
I'm not saying that they are, I'm merely
Yeah.
saying
You
that
wanna
both
put
parties
that
are
in
going to
writing?
need some sort of relief, so if they can mutually
I've heard
agree.
this before, John.
On the
that
subject
works
of
to
writing,
everybody's advantage.
Well, here's my concern about doing that. I'll be very, 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 very candid. And I'm gonna put this all on the record. Both the neighbor's dock and this dock were built by the same contractor. And without the benefit of everything being kosher. The neighbor, there's a letter from the neighbor, which I thought was the most strange sort of, remember mutually assured destruction? How nobody attacked anybody else because everybody else could. The neighbor sort of dropped a dime on my client, which had me scratching my head. Why in God's name would anybody with the same issue? It's being transparent for everybody. That's the only, life's too short to do anything else. Why would anybody with that issue do that? Because Daisy has a letter from the neighbor to the town. So I don't want to be in a position, quite candidly, gentlemen, where I have to come to some agreement with the neighbor who's already shown their antagonism. I'm being absolutely direct. So what I proposed is a dock that makes a lot of sense. I will tell you right now that we will not object when this neighbor comes in and tries to remedy the situation that they have to remedy.
If they have violations that are gonna have to be rectified with a new permit, then.
Well, that's exactly what the case is.
Again, I'll say that's helpful information, John. And I think that, if you just craft in your special wording, says there's gonna be special wording in this permit to begin with, I think we're good with that.
Yeah,
I think we're good with that. That's all we need to do.
Absolutely.
Are we square with that?
I was only going with Scott's idea of trying to find a global settlement, but
Well,
in light of that
that's-
information, you do what you need to do and.
Again, that was important. It's always good to find a global settlement, have peace and harmony. Like you said, life's too short, right?
Absolutely.
But based on the circumstances that we're discussing publicly here today, I think specific wording relative to this situation, which is kind of unique, is important for clarification purposes, and we move on.
But I will specifically state for the record that we have no objection to having the next door neighbor find some solution with this board to be able to wharf out to navigable.
That's great.
yeah, I just don't know how geometrically that is possible.
Well, we don't have his application before us, so
And
I don't.
Yeah,
They are in
but
front
we're
of us.
also altering away from our 10-foot setbacks, which could inhibit the neighbor.
Given the circumstances, to deny them the right to do so could be a lot more onerous for you than accommodating.
Given the property.
You're your own zoning board. You're hearing an appeal in
No,
essence.
I understand all the aspects of it. I'm just saying that, like, us accepting the current design
So Chip, if I may,
can inhibit the neighbor.
what would you do? I mean, seriously. I mean, I think.
I
That's
can't
a
say
fair
that on the
question.
record.
No. Well, you should.
No, but
if I may, I'm not trying to be bold, but I guess
I understand. It's like, we have a circumstance where the owner of the property wants to be able to go out and utilize the water body. I mean, that's very
It's one of the
apparent,
benefits
you know, like, and that's very acceptable. We also have an odd-shaped piece of property and a for want of a better word, a pissing match between the two neighbors.
Works.
You know, and at one time there was you probably could have come to an agreement and had one dock coming off, but those days are long gone. You know, like, I mean, that would be the ideal solution. The ideal solution would be like put the dock out at that angle and split the difference and have both property owning utilize the same dock. I mean, that's what we would have done 20, 30 years ago, but we're in a different state of affairs right now.
And this is actually even more unique than that because there are some other additional considerations that are being taken into factor here, and I think that's relative. And that's why I say I think if we're going to have special wording, just have some good special wording, taking into consideration even the perpetuation of the property. I think that's sensible. And then I think you did the best you could and you move on.
But normally when we're looking at these docks, and the biggest thing that I look at with the 10-foot setback, does it interfere with navigation of your neighbor's dock? You taking this dock, moving it to the north or east, putting it on the edge of that property line, gets away from your neighbor's dock, and it kind of mitigates the issue of navigation. And it's really not an issue of navigation because you're not going to have a boat here. So we're looking at more the ability to wharf out safely to some depth of water where you can either put a canoe or a kayak and allow you access. I think this is something, you know, that we could work on, craft language, and then call it a day.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'll agree with it.
Okay.
Okay. So what are we doing?
That's it.
I don't know, what are we doing?
You have to work on some language with council.
But do we have a vote subject to working out the language of council?
Well, this is a work session, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
This is the
Not a
work
general
session.
session, so.
We put all the nuts and
It'll
bolts
advance.
together.
I would say this can advance.
This can advance and then
Which is
have the
the next
discussion
step.
of the language.
I would advance it
We'll
subject
advance.
to being able to get the language. It's almost like a stamp plan.
correct.
Advance.
Okay, fine.
Okay?
There you go.
Right.
John,
So
we'll need your court.
You'll
Right.
need,
You'll need
you'll
to
need
work it
stamped plans, and once the language is crafted, I'd wait and then have the stamp plans.
Right, we have some DC comments that we need to address too, so there may be an amendment, but.
Okay.
The trustees of the only part of the town of Southampton that I've never brought an action against for the client. I would hear your dad and Ted Sharrett's.
Oh my God, Ted Sharrett's. Yeah.
But never say never.
Yeah.
Hey, you know,
We
up for a
have
challenge.
attorneys too.
we have a permit.
Constant challenges here.
Good seeing you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well,
Take care.
We're always
Take
a
care.
moving target.
You can leave it. You can leave it. Thank you.
All right, I've got Gina here. Come on up, Gina.
Yeah, she's got a whole bunch. She's got a couple
We got a
there.
couple here, Gina.
Well, there's only two.
A couple, as I say. You got 55
Yeah, so we have, do you wanna do?
and you have 20.
Wanna do 20 first,
Sure.
or?
20 is modification to just want to include a 4x6 platform, a 3x16 ramp, 6x20 float, parallel to the bulkhead, secured by 3 piles. I think it's okay. What do you think, Gina?
So, another consultant, so I'm co-consultant to do the dock, and the other was the bulkhead, that's, might actually be under construction right now. So my only question is, we agreed to separate it, so I didn't have to deal with the bulkhead thing, because that's already been approved. So it's up to you guys whether or not you want me to redo the cover.
So this is a separate application, is what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah, because I didn't, but the plans have the bulkhead on them. Because
No, because we were
You tell me what to
confused,
do.
we were confused because we received the $600
Yeah.
application fee.
So
but it
you
says
guys are okay with, they're separate right now, okay.
The applications
We're
are separate
reviewing
right
this
now, so,
specifically.
so it wouldn't be a modification, it would be.
A separate application.
Yeah, it would be just the proposal for the,
So I should
ramp
redo
and-
the cover letter
and get rid of
just for the dock.
That's it. Yep.
It's
That's what
just
you're-
strike out modification to
Correct.
add the dock. Got it.
What you're doing is
That was
fine,
my
though.
question.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do?
That saves us a lot because we put it in as a separate.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just redo the cover and strike out modification.
Yeah, because
instead.
the float's fine, it's all fine.
But it's just a very typical design.
So that could advance pending her sending in the,
We need stamp plans.
yeah. Well,
No,
no,
the
it's just a
stamp plans are on
float.
there.
I'm sorry, I had the wrong one up.
They already did
Yeah.
it. They actually provided the stamp plans for me on this one. I didn't even draw this.
Are they in there, Scott? Can you just double check? Because I don't.
I have a whole bunch of extras.
See them on here.
You don't see them, they should be there.
Well, they should be in there. They mailed me a whole bunch of them.
I mean, maybe the stamp didn't come up on the scan.
This is a survey.
Yeah, they had them stamped
Well,
by
You could get him a copy, right?
AJC Land Surveying. Stamped that one. Hold on. I know that they gave me because the guy paid for them. Anyway, I'll take a look.
You need to just get him what he needs.
Surveying. All right, I'll double check.
All right, so
I'll look.
she'll get it to you.
I'll
You'll
get it
to
to you.
him?
I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you because I know they gave me some.
And the cover sheet.
And redo the cover sheet, yeah. So just for FYI, while we're on this subject, and I didn't want to comment in the previous application, but regarding soundings, okay, so back in the early 2000s, DEC said no one could fudge soundings anymore because we had some not named clients that were fudging water depths. Okay, so soundings are actually not water depths. Soundings are hydrographic measurements of the bay bottom as reference to a datum done in 1988 by the USGS. It's an old datum done in 1988 that really should update it. So measurements of bathymetric surveys, the numbers don't change unless the actual bottom land changes. So it's not water depth. So you see the soundings, it's not actually soundings. It's not the depth of water under like low tide that you have, that you're like, you know, up to your waist kind of thing. That's not what it is. It's a bathymetric survey of the bottom.
It's the elevation of the bottom.
Change, yes, under a reference of 0 being low water. So it's so like, you know, we do elevations of houses and, you know, yards and, you know, bulkheads. It's based on the datum being 0 and what's over 0 and what's under 0. It's not the actual water depth. So just everybody knows that. They don't change. Unless someone comes in there and starts dredging and changes the bottom.
Isn't the datum point in New Jersey or something?
Yeah. And they really should update them because they're very outdated, right? Because they're last done in 1988. Someone really needs to fund, you know, because we base all of our FEMA on this. And, you know, and Long Island is sinking, honestly, and the water is rising, and they really do need to update this stuff. But soundings are not water depths. Okay.
You want to talk about 55?
Yes. Let's talk about 55. So I did do that minor updating that James had me do for this stone buffer behind the bulkhead, and that I did confirm with the owner because the bulkheads are the same elevation on either side. We are not raising it at all. So I did get you the revised cover. I do owe you stamped plans though.
All right, 73 feet of bulkhead still, right?
Yep.
Approximately 30 cubic yards of clean fill.
Correct.
You doing some dredging there? Are you reclaiming anything there?
Nope. Doesn't need to be done.
Okay.
It's super simple. And this actually, so I go to meet this guy. It's actually a really cute story. So my dad used to be a Village of West Hampton Beach police officer. He retired and passed away when he was 56. But anyway, so I show up to this guy's house and he's like, wait a second, I know you. and he used to work with my dad. He was a West Ham Beach cop. Super nice guy, and his wife just died.
Sorry to hear that.
But just small world, you know?
Are we go with this one?
We need stamp plans.
Yeah,
Stamp
stamp plans. I owe you.
All right.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Bye.
I'm off the hook this week. I got nothing.
We do have some general permit applications for determinations for final stamp plans. We've got Sarah Coyne at 34 Mineola Court, Hampton Bays. This is the LK McLean project.
Received.
Hey, Bill. Going. We went around and around and around with this one, so I guess we got it all squared out.
Finally.
Good, everything?
Stamped.
We're good? Okay.
Chip, you got a couple?
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
140 Hayground Cove Road.
Yeah, 140 Hill Road. Partners. Oh, that's, yeah, that one, they moved it, right?
Stamped.
Stamped. Yeah, that was an in-kind. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Millstone.
And then the Strauss.
Flying Point.
1108 Flying Point.
Good.
Stamped. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that one. Joe.
Millstone.
271 Millstone Brook Road.
Stamped.
Yeah, okay. Good. Yep, and, landfill. Stamp, good.
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 Yep. Great, stamp.
And the last one, right? 35 library for Matt?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, good.
And they did add the, this one, we also asked for a buffer, some buffer language for the stone, which they added as well, so.
Cool.
Good.
All right.
All advanced all around.
That's it. We're done. Okay.
Second it.
Done. Motion to adjourn, go into executive session.
Second.
Seconded by
Everybody.
Warner and Aaron here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Exec session, folks. Steve Stern's on his way.